Content warning. The following show contains tobacco smoking, some possible potty mouth language, discussions of fictitious violence, possibly discussions of psychological or social happenings that may make people feel uncomfortable. With all that being said, viewer discretion is advised. Hello, everybody. How you guys doing out there today? I am Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And welcome, my friends, to the dark side of the room. This is the show where we talk about nerd stuff. Why? Because we're nerds. That's right, all the nerd stuff that we talk about, from comic books to board games to RPGs to tabletop miniatures to talking to your friends about the stuff that you want to talk about, but they're not really into it because they grew up playing sports and having a whole bunch of friends that you never got. That is the stuff that we are here for. And I want to thank y'all for being here. I really do. Oh man, it is Wednesday. It is hump day. And you know, I totally missed the joke on our last show on Monday when I said I'll see you guys here on Wednesday, because I forgot that today was going to be the first of the month, which means go ahead and turn us on if you are standing in the line for your county check or your food stamps, if they still do that kind of thing. I know mine are electronic. But I totally missed the joke of, and the next time you see us, it's gonna be May. That's right. It is the beginning of the month. The mortgage is due, the water bill is coming, and you're looking at your fridge and you're going, you know what? I best get paid in 2 days. Yeah, y'all know what that's like. So chill with us as we talk about really fun stuff, because I like talking about fun stuff. What is going on, Mr. Darrow? Thank you for being here. Major thanks to all my people that are here in the chat with me today, and hello to you guys on Patreon. That's right, I'm putting the shows up on Patreon because sometimes the answer was so obvious that I missed it. It's a lot like an old joke that I heard. What can you sit on, sleep on, and brush your teeth with? I'll wait. The answer is a chair, a bed, and a toothbrush. Because sometimes the answer is so obvious you don't see it. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't been putting this stuff up on my Patreon as it's happening. So isn't that fun? We're doing the Patreon thing. That is so amazing. And I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, which is fine for all the little things I get like this. This is so awesome. But it is not good for when I get yet another call. We're calling in regards to your property in Long Beach, California. I'm like, I don't live in Long Beach and I don't own a house there. Good day. I said good day, sir. So I've got some fun stuff coming up for you guys today. But if you guys got any questions, you want some other stuff, we're doing a couple of things a little differently. First off, if y'all do got questions, then all you really have to do is send me an email at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. And if you are part of that wretched hive of scum and villainy known as Facebook, you can join Deckers on the Books. And that is our group that we talk about there. When Zan or um, Neon get in here, they are going to give us a link to the Discord, okay? Because I let them do that because they do it because it makes me feel like I'm special, and I let them do it because it makes them feel special. It's very symbiotic and all that. So we kind of love that whole thing on that front. But if you guys have a question that you want me to answer, send it in an email and I'll get to it at the segment at the end of the show. But if you're just really, really, really want me to answer a question right now, like right now, right now, then I put up the donations tab and you can send me a donation or bits here on Twitch. You can also watch us live. Well, you can also watch us on YouTube, and this is me doing a call to action, sharing my stuff. I'm trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and it is proving to be just a bit of a challenge. I'm not going to say it is a female dog in heat, but it is a challenge. So, with all that, let's get on to the show today. So, I spent some time with a few people this week, and one of the things they asked, one of the things that they asked was, so what's the kind of stuff that you doing? What is your big thing? All that, and I'm like, oh, crud. Okay, let me see if I can explain this. And then it hit me. It totally hit me. Um, when gamers, specifically gamers, are approached as to, hey, what are you into? And we'll say something like D&D, Warhammer 40K, something like that, right? And I'm sending a text during the show. I normally don't do that. Um but I meant to send it, but all I have is the person let's see, check out the show today at yeah. All I have is the person's phone number, and I don't know how to share a lot of like online announcements via the phone cuz I'm old. So I got to do this the way that I know. Twitch.tv slash BID underscore P. I'm live right now. Yeah. No, not alive. I'm live right now. Right now. And what happens whenever most of us start talking to people who aren't part of this world, end up asking us about the world? We do one major thing. We go, oh shit, somebody's interested in what I'm doing. Oh shit. All right, here we go. And then we open our mouths, and all of the information concerning the thing that we are interested in comes flooding out all at once, all over them. It's like, oh, so you're into that Dungeons and Dragons stuff, right? What is Dungeons and Dragons? Well, a long time ago in the 1970s, Gary Gygax and his holy trinity of drunken friends decided that they were tired of playing the tabletop war game called Chainmail, or historic war games, and created a game called Chainmail, where knights and they're just like, dude, I don't care. I wanted to know what it was. But we're still going like, oh, finally someone is interested in what we got to think. And then we start talking and talking and talking, and all they hear is, that's it. That's all they hear. So how can we introduce them to our IPs, our properties, our worlds without scaring them off with too much information. This is huge, okay? This is huge because, hit me like leave a comment, leave me an emoji or something like that if you've done this and kind of felt a little embarrassed at the end of it because I know I have. I do it all the time, especially when I'm sleep deprived and someone says, "So, what exactly is Warhammer 40K?" And I'm like, "Well, you see, and I'm like, my brain just goes, man. And it's like, how do we introduce them? Well, there are two ways. And I'm going to cover one way verbally, and then I'm going to cover the rest of the way, I guess you could say, within the context of good and proper communication. Okay? With examples, because that's a really big thing. It's a big thing for me. It's a big thing for us, and it's one of the really good ways to grow the community. All right. Now, when people are like, "Oh, this is the 21st century," and one of the things that I wanted was and slash was afraid of growing up is that now when people hear gamers, they think dim video games. They want to talk about Fortnite and Hell, and I think it's Hell's Breach or Hell's Reach. Help me out in the comments there. Um, they want to talk about the Destinies and the Super Smash Brothers and the Tekkens and all that stuff. And if you're my age or you're just a tabletop gaming gamer, and I say just meaning those are the types of games that you play. Okay, just that you don't do the video gaming. For whatever reason you're in. I know I don't do the video gaming because I got priced out in the 90s. And when I was finally able to get a console, I could not figure it out. Like, I tried playing Batman Arkham, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what these controls are. And honestly, I'm not interested enough to figure it all out. All I'm feeling is frustration. Um, it's good to know that it's just not for me. I gave it a shot. I borrowed someone's Xbox. I tried playing Mirrodin, no, Mirrowin, way back in 2003. Um, I fell down. I fell into like a riverbed or something, and I just could not navigate my way out. And I'm like, nope, video games have become too complicated for me. But good on them. I still mess with the occasional fighting game and the occasional beat 'em up. All right, but most platformers or first person shooters and stuff, not really my thing. Um, I'm into board games. I like the top down look. Um, so when people hear I'm a gamer and I'm like, okay, I'm not a video game guy. They hit me up and they're like, oh, well, what do you mean you're a game? And I'm like, well, I play tabletop role playing games. I play card games, miniatures games, and all this other stuff. And and they're like, well, okay, what's this D&D thing? And here are some of the things that you can do to describe a lot of these hobbies to people that don't have exposure to the world. Okay. Number one, let's take RPGs. Okay. Just straight up role playing games. Okay. And I don't mean like Final Fantasy or Earthbound or anything. I'm talking tabletop role playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, Cyberpunk, Shadowrun, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Let's be real about this. Okay. What I the way I describe them is it's well, okay. There are two ways I describe it. When I'm describing it to kids, it's you're playing pretend with rules where one of your friends comes up with a story and you play a character in that story. And they go, okay, that sounds cool. All right, cool. When I'm explaining it to adults, I'm like, it's a lot like being in a writer's room where The head writer has written the plot and the world, okay? And each other writer is in charge of a singular character. What they do, why they do it, and how they react to the other characters. And you use dice to see whether or not you succeed at the stuff you want to try. And most of the time, people get that. People totally get that. When people ask me, like, what is this Warhammer 40K thing? I'm like, okay, tabletop wargaming is a cross between playing chess without a board most of the time and playing with your GI Joes. Okay, and they're like, "Oh, okay, that actually kind of sounds dope." I'm like, "It is, but it's involved." Okay, a lot of these things can get involved. Um, and within that, I wanted to cover two things, as you guys can tell by the title of the episode. All right. A lot of the times, most people hear this stuff and they're just not dealing. It sounds more involved, more complicated, and all that other stuff. But just to introduce them to IPs, all right? Um, Most of the time, you don't need to introduce them to IPs. If you live in Western civilization, you know comic books exist, you know some characters, and that's enough of the world. Okay. You may not know which character belongs to which company, so you might want to link up the X-Men and Batman, and it's like those are two universes, two comic out there. Think about it like Pepsi and Coke. Okay. It's all cola, but y'all know. Everybody knows Star Wars, and the rest of the stuff up in the air. Even though it's popular in our spaces, it's not mainstream. You know, most people might know Lord of the Rings. I think Lord of the Rings has gone so mainstream that stuff has really started working. Um, but when someone asks me, okay, explain to me this universe of Warhammer 40K, I cynically say, take every sci fi property from Starship Troopers to Alien to Star Wars to Star Trek and cram it all into Dune, and no one is a good guy. And they're like, that sounds like a lot. I'm like, you have no idea. No idea. And that's about where I leave it until they start asking questions. Um, but let's say I want to teach someone the game and I want someone to play with. I've been racking my brain about this, and we've done a couple of shows on it over the past couple of months, how to teach people how to play games, stuff like that. And it occurred to me over the past couple of days, and I did some research on this, that companies know what they're doing. Big corporations, they know what they're talking about when it comes to um when it actually comes to the stuff that they want to sell. Okay? Um so that being the case, when I think, all right, well, how can I introduce folks to say 40K? All right? Well, there was one particular 40K property that I recently learned that I was super jazzed when I first started playing. Okay. Or when I learned how to play, because I learned how to play it and I'm like, dude, this is actually pretty good. I'm surprised. Um, and this particular game is a board game. Um, which, how can I put this? This particular board game is it's out there. It costs about the same as general board games these days. And that game is Space Hulk. All right? See, I got my Vanna White going. All right. My God, I'm old. But yeah, Space Hulk. Now, this is a game where folks play Tyranids and Space Marines, and they're on a big boat and they're trying to go through stuff. And people are like, "Oh, like aliens." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, why not?" But there's a lot of different properties with that, or a lot of different properties that go this route, you know. Um and most of them can easily be found in places like Amazon, you know. Um let's take um since a new edition's been done, Marvel Crisis Protocol. This is a board game. It's technically a miniatures game. It's a board game with miniatures because a lot of things blur the line nowadays. But it plays like a board game in the sense of you get all the cool little things. Look at all the cool little things you get right there with all the heroes and the villains and all that stuff. And it doesn't come with a board. Okay, you got to play on the kitchen table and create your own scenery and stuff like that. But it comes with a couple of things like some buildings, some cars, some stuff to pick up and throw, which is all cool, but it pretty much comes with everything that you need to learn how to play with. It's about $111, 112, 120 as it says here on Amazon, about 120 bucks. Um but the thing is, it gives people sort of a framework for tabletop miniatures games in the sense of we get to play with the action figures. They're action figures that we know, and it's in something that doesn't take a lot of involvement. Sorta. Why, Solar, why are you saying this sort of thing? Whatever do you mean? Well, it's simple. One thing about, say, Marvel Crisis Protocol and a few other games is that it says so right here. Miniatures are supplied unassembled and unpainted. Okay? So, in being a game advocate, all right, it's up to us. Like with Space Hulk, very similar. Now, I'm going to check Amazon real quick to see if Space Hulk is still available. And if it's not, it's okay because we going to get through that. But I dropped my mouse. I dropped my mouse. There we go. Doesn't look like it. Blackstone Fortress is available, but not for that price. Yeah. But yeah. So there are certain places that you can find Space Hulk rule books online, and it is a game that involves boards with a square. Okay, just boards with a square, and it is possible to find the rule book online in various places. Okay. And the box contents right here, that's really important. That's a big thing for me because I need to know what I'm putting together since I can't buy the game. Um but essentially the rules of Space Hulk is you move it on a board space by space by space, just like you would with Monopoly or Sorry. This type of board game with no need for a tape measure, okay? Um keeps a new player a little more comfortable because most of us have grown up with board games. But most board games we grow up with come in squares. You play Monopoly, you roll the dice, you move one square at a time. Sure, the squares are Boardwalk, Park Place, Kentucky Avenue, but it's still one space, okay? Versus tabletop miniatures games where you go all over, you can go any direction. You don't just have to go one. Um so if you've got a little bit of foam core and a square, you can create your own board, which is what Friday's show is going to be all about. All right. That is what we're talking about there. Especially if you already have miniatures from, say, your D&D game, or miniatures from your own Warhammer collection, you know, or even action figures, because the game mechanics is the game mechanics. And if we want to introduce them into the world, while we're playing the game, we can be like, my genetically enhanced super soldier with all the big armor and hey, um, is totally going this way, and they're gonna do that, and the aliens come in, and make no mistake, Space Hulk was very much dealt with in the same way that aliens was. And hang on. Yeah, there we go. And the thing is, there is an aliens board game from Gale Force 9. I'm just double checking to see how much the core set is. And it plays a lot like Space Hulk. So it's kind of some good stuff as well. Um yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, now that's just the boss battle. I believe, yeah. Honestly, I'm looking for the core set here for the Aliens game from Gale Force 9. And yeah, can't really find it, and it just occurred to me that I should have done this before the show. But honesty, all in all, essentially, oh, okay, the Sokako Survivors. That's just the miniature set. I knew there was something about that. And the Get Away from Her, You Blip. There we go. Yeah. Let's see if we can find that. Okay. There we go. Looking for. Yes. The board. Here we go. And yeah, this is Aliens um from Gale Force 9. It's Get Away from Her, You Doop. But all in all, okay. Um it comes with missions, it comes with cards and things like that. And that's a really good way to introduce people to some stuff. Now, I know, and this is an expansion for the normal game, but I know that when you're trying to get your loved ones, your friends, your family, into a thing that you really like, all right? A lot of the times it comes with, what's the term? There are difficulties that come along with it. And the number one thing that makes it difficult for people to get into a lot of the stuff that you like is we didn't realize that a long time ago we became good at what we're doing. Okay, we really didn't we with that we lost it. All right, we totally lost that moment where where we became competent at the stuff that we were doing. Okay, because I'll tell you, you guys know if you sat down and looked at the stuff that we do. Okay, stuff that we do is so complex. It has so many steps. Um, with even fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons, there's a lot of moving parts with initiative and stats and the different spells that you can do and combos, and there's so many layers to most of these things, especially the big properties, that there are channels specifically dedicated, just specifically dedicated to that property. There are hundreds of Warhammer lore channels, of D&D lore channels. There's 100 more of how to make the best teams to win at tournaments and what's hot in the meta with Warhammer. There's Everything from Dimension 20. There was Critical Role that ran for like 3 years, then got its own cartoon, which is its own TV show. There's so many layers to all of this stuff. And it's a lot like when you're a kid. You don't feel yourself grow. You just know that one day your pants don't fit the way that they used to, you know? You end up flooding because you had a growth spurt over the summer, and now your pants have shorter ankles than you remember that same pair of pants having when you last wore them to school. You don't realize how much stuff gets stacked and stacked. Um, so starting off with something not basic, but just not as thick. Okay, not as thick as the full-fledged property, not starting off someone in a D&D game at level 10, you know, not opening up with a 2000 point Warhammer 40K army, but just getting the basic um just straight up getting the basic starter sets or board game or something and approaching it like a board game is super huge. Okay. It is really super, super big. Um, Now, there are a couple of things that you can do that I like to do when it comes to playing a lot of games. Now, that thing I was talking about with the foam core and making a board, I love using squares even in games that don't have squares. Okay, I really do. I'm a big fan of it. Um, Primarily because it gets people used. Hey, Neon, there you are. How you doing, man? It really gets people to be engaged with the games instead of being engaged with the question of, well, can I move here? Well, what about here? Well, what about here? Well, what about here? You know? Um, so using that stuff as an example is just really, really big. A lot of companies that are trying to get folks into, say, miniatures games, um, create board games that you don't need a grid for, but they add their own specialized measuring tools. Atomic Mass Games is huge on this. With their Star Wars games, their superhero games. I know Gaslands has its own measuring tools, and all of that is pretty cool. And if you have the money to get the measuring tools, then by the way, get it. But when it comes to games like, let's say you want to get someone into one page rules or Warhammer 40K or maybe Conflict 47 or Turnip 28, you know, um, mm, if you can make yourself a little grid, again, out of foam core, you just need a square, um, and set up your scenery and all that stuff on there, it gives them a much better understanding of how to do the concept of the minis game. You feel me on that? Um, Now, some of the things that make showing people miniatures games is there's too much lore, too much into character creation, and the mechanics are way too complicated. Okay, too many combos. You know, um, okay, you were already late to the show. You don't get your sarcasm benefits for at least 5 minutes. um, you know, but when it comes down to that, those three things are the things that scare off new players. So approaching the instruction of the new property, um, maybe a rush reference every 5 minutes, then we'll get into that. But perhaps showing people these games within the context of a board game, okay, um, is one of the things that makes it easy for them to absorb the lore. And this is a really big one, okay? A really, 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 really big one. It makes them more open to playing the game as you present it to them, okay? Um, Now I've been looking around for so many different ways, okay? One page rules with their grimdark and their fantasy stuff are kind of trying to go the Games Workshop route of doing the epic war game and the skirmish game. I.e., you need 10 models versus 100 models. And I hope they come up with something a lot like Space Hulk. But when I looked into this and I read the Space Hulk rulebook, and I'm like, this is exactly the thing I was looking for. Okay. This is the thing that got me on using the board game squares. Okay. Um, let's say we take the Warhammer 40K stuff or the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, or heck, even our Hero Click stuff, and we paired everything super down to the essence of each character. Like, let's say we want to use Space Hulk theory in teaching Hero Clicks. Okay. Now, the first thing with all Hero Clicks is like get rid of the powers. I disagree. I disagree with getting rid of the powers. Um, what I would say is only keep the powers that are indicative to the character, not all the other stuff. Okay, just like let's say you have a Superman hero click. Superman flies, is strong, is hard to hit. That's it. Those are the three things that you leave. Now, when it comes to the super speed or a lot of the other stuff that he does and picking up stuff on the way, that's just it's too much. Get the basics. Superman strong. He flies. He absorbs damage. Done. Okay. Um, let's say you wanted to use this theory in teaching Warhammer 40K. All right. Um, you can say, all right, we are going to put together. I put together a team of 5 representatives of a unit. Let's say you're 5 battle. You have a battle line guy, a heavy weapons guy, a um, an elite guy. All right, and you leave their weapons if they have a magic guy, so that they have their spells, and you leave all of the rest of the shenanigans out. You know, um, this gives your player a basic understanding of which army does what, why they do the stuff they do, and you don't put on the really cool toys. Okay? Like if you're using the Space Hulk theory, you don't let them use tanks. All right? But you turn the large spending combat game into a board game. And the concept of this became very clear to me with Dungeons and Dragons, The Adventure Begins. Okay? Fantastic little game that gives you the flavor of an RPG without all of the extra whistles and bells. And this is also great for kids like 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, that kind of thing. Because we start getting this idea of like, what? I know how to play this game, and I've been as good as I am today from the moment I started. You haven't. You haven't. There's so many things that you had to learn along the way. Okay, but if we start with the super basics, the primers, you know, example. Let's say, well, in Space Hulk was the board game that, if initially, like really initially, introduced the Blood Angels and the Terminators into a lot of mainstream Warhammer type play. Okay? And what do we know about Terminators? They're very slow and they can take some decent damage. Okay? And they look really cool. What do we know about Blood Angels? They're really bad at ranged combat. They're up in your face, hit you in the mouth all day. And in your Space Hulk team, you get a dude with a power fist, you might get a dude with a flamethrower, you can take a librarian with their magical spells, and you can take a commander, and you're fighting gene stealers. Okay, you're just fighting space bugs. Um, and they're kind of invisible. They can move in ways that you can't. Again, it's like regular space. It's like regular infantrymen versus xenomorphs in the movie Aliens. Okay, and it's a very tight, enclosed space. It's really cool. Um, the second part is within the context of the game. They are there to do something. They are there to rescue a person, destroy um destroy a computer terminal. It's not just get all the bugs off the ship. It's go do this thing and get out because the bugs have taken the ship completely. Now this is a little bit more than basic, but it keeps them from thinking I win by eliminating everything on the board, especially when it comes to I don't know, a bug infestation where no matter how many you kill, they just keep coming back. Now, one thing I have to say about Space Hulk is that it is a brutal game. Okay, it is a very brutal game. It is so easy to be killed. It is so easy to lose the mission within Space Hulk. All right, it's really easy to lose the game, and it also comes with special dice and stuff like that, but I'm not a big fan. But I'm trying to find. Yeah, there we go. All right, there we are. Boop 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 boop. All right. So yeah, right behind me is some footage of some folks playing, and they're like moving their guys, and they got the doors, and they're doing the thing. But when you look at the board, it's pretty self-explanatory. Where you got all those things, and they're coming in, and the guys are walking down right here, and and honestly, it's a two-player game, but it can be up to 5 players if each player controls their guy. If each player controls their guy and one person controls the gene stealers, it can be a bit of fun. It can really be a bit of fun. Um, but this really gives one a cooperation feel. It gives a purpose for play other than can I beat the brakes off of this person? It's like, can we accomplish this thing? Can we go in? Oh my God, it's a bug hunt, man! A bug hunt! Game over, man! Game over! And these kinds of things are really, really, really easy to come up with and to put out there. Um, Now let's say you want to use this type of stuff within the context of a game that isn't made for being put on squares. Well, it's actually pretty easy. Um, you just change their measurements to squares. What do I mean? Well, let's say we're taking a game like Marvel Crisis Protocol. There are 3 ways to move in Crisis Protocol: short, medium, long. Okay? Well, these measurement tools are a certain amount of inches. Okay? You equate the inches to the amount of squares on the table. That's it. Okay? If you're doing this with, say, Grimdark Future or the one-page rule stuff, standard movement is 6 inches. So you got 6 squares. There you go. Done. Easy. All right. Um, but these are really interesting and cool ways to kind of run this stuff and show people how to play this stuff in a way that is digestible, not filled with lore, mm, and not drowning in crunch. Now, I know, a lot of you guys right now are even typing on the thing, but I like crunch. I love having all this other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, nah, you know what? I get it. A lot of people do. All right. However, when you're trying to teach a game to someone who doesn't game as their main hobby, like your nephew, your friends, all your boys, um, crunch is the number one thing that will scare them off. Okay, because who cares about all those game mechanics, especially when Monopoly is there? Okay, you got the standard Hasbro games. It used to be Parker Brothers, Hasbro, and Milton Bradley when I was growing up, where you roll the dice, you move your thing, and you do one thing, unless a card tells you to do otherwise, and that's it. That's the whole game. You know, if you guys are wondering why I spend so much time thinking about this, and um, hit me up if y'all live in the hood too. But where I live, they really only want to play three games, just three, maybe four, and those games are Spade, Bid Whist, Uno. That's it. That's all. Okay, that's it. Maybe chess, but anything outside of those four games that are already super familiar, they're afraid of going outside that comfort zone. So, how can I bring them into a larger world in a way that doesn't break their comfort zone? And that's giving as much into their comfort zone with what I want to show them as I can. Or, as we say on the channel, meeting them where they're at instead of trying to force them to be where we want them to be. Okay? Let's see here. Wow. I don't see a lot of guys really talking today, but that's okay. Do. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. You can come back with your sarcasm, Neon. Let me check for some questions. Okay, and then we can look over the rule book. Oh, I should probably run a commercial too. So we'll be back if you're watching on Twitch, and again, like and subscribe. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Where is where is that one window? There's an old joke. Uh, how is a house like a computer? And the answer is, or how is a plane like a computer? And the answer is they both crash when there are too many windows open. 15 millimeter units, even if I'm not a fan of Grand Battle, so I'm hoping more companies keep making tiny dudes. You know, I haven't gotten in to um yeah, I haven't gotten into to those per se because I don't really. Yeah, see, that's the thing. You're saying tiny is really fun to paint. Not for me. I don't find painting 15 millimeter models very fun. I actually like bigatures over miniatures, Um the dragons from Wizards of the or from Wiz Kids that they give for your D&D games. Love those. Love most Reaper bigatures. Um, and I'm loving the Star Wars Shatterpoint and um, Marvel Crisis Protocol scale. I'm actually liking those. Might be because I'm getting older, my eyes are going, and I don't like wearing that thing. That thing. But yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this whole Space Hulk thing. Now, with the Space Hulk thing, um, The things that we need to actually take a look at are like, all right, you get 12 Space Marine Terminators. No one says they got to be Terminators, but you know. You got 22 Gene Stealers. If you got Termagants, use Termagants. Who cares? Um, Dead Space Marine. Okay, yeah, whatever. That's a thing. Counters, blips are important. You can use. I see nickels, dimes, and pennies. Thank you. Let's see, pennies, nickels, dimes. Yeah, that works. And let's see. Now the board selections, that those are big, but we're gonna get around to making those on Friday. Okay, that's gonna be a really big thing that we're gonna do. And 20 doors, we've made doors here on the channel. They're stupid easy. Um, and yeah, you just need something that stands upright. you know, but looking at the rule books, you get the models, you can paint them or you can not paint them. That's up to you. All right. A lot of folks are like, well, they got to be painted because my emergent. I'm like, stop it. No hinges, no hinges. Um, on here yet, their little doors are literally standy things that can be opened or closed. And these right here are the pieces. They look like little puzzle pieces, but honestly, they're just a bunch of grids. And for this thing right here, I promise you, you can find a space. You can find this little thing online anywhere and print it on a piece of paper or don't. Okay. And I believe at the very end of the book, we have our reference sheet, action points, close assault, and all that. All of these things are pretty easy to look at and to look about. I'm really looking forward to playing this game. I might even be able to tolerate playing the game solo. What? Oh, yeah, Solar, the lonely kid. Um, being willing to play a game solo? What what sorcery is this? Well, I'm pretty easy. You know. Um so yeah, and when it comes down to these things, again, there will be a lot of people online, a lot of forums, a lot of stuff like that, consisting of a lot of regular people gatekeeping monetarily. Okay. And I put this out there for real, for real. All right. When I log off and I say fiscally disenfranchised, there's a lot of people online that will put up these gates. Your models have to be from the company. Number one, they've got to be painted. You've got to have the store bought board. If you're not going to do the store bought board, then you've got to be an amazing artist that makes all the pa, pa, pa. They can put all that money stuff back in the deck. Okay? Let's take the game we're featuring today, Space Hulk. You literally can't buy this anywhere but eBay. And let's take a look. Space Hulk, eBay. Do 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 do. How much are people asking for it? Oh, wow. Oh my god. So, on eBay, this guy is asking approximately $187 and 40 something um and 40 something dollars shipping. Okay? This person here is asking $332 and $11 shipping. Who else do we got over here? This person is asking $291 And I can't even find how much they're asking for shipping. Heck, this one is asking for $332, you know, and $11 shipping. So the whole idea of you don't have the right to play this game in your own house if you make your own pieces or you proxy stuff. Um yeah, that's nothing but gatekeeping and rich people saying that, screw the pores. I'm sorry, man. That's really not cool. It's not cool to do. It's not cool to say. Um and I'm not with it, you know? Um I was taught how to play this game at my friendly local game store. So if I wanted to go play this game, if I could find somebody to play it with when the store owner is actually doing his homework cuz he works very hard. Um I can drive the 20 miles and spend the time doing that. Okay, yes, my nearest gaming store is 20 miles away. Ah, which means it's going to cost me about $10 in gas just to go there and come back, let alone eating. All right? Um and I can't take the game out of the store. So, the stuff that you do in the privacy of your own home is stuff you do in the privacy of your own home, folks, you know? Um if you want to create your own tiles and use them in this way, you totally can. I know Aliens A Good Day in the Core is also sold out in most places. Let me just double check here. I'm looking for the core set for the Aliens game. Another Glorious Day in the Core. Okay. It says it's available to buy. Okay. So, Another Glorious Day in the Core can be bought for about $70 if you order directly from Gale Force 9. That's not terrible. Okay, that really isn't. It really isn't terrible given how much board games cost today. All right? So, that's a thing that you can do. Now, like I said, I like bigger scale stuff cuz I'm a big dude. I got big hands. I like having big figures. You know, is it back up to rental prices or a car down payment? Yeah, yeah, seriously. Um, but yeah, so I mean, creating a lot of these games, doing doing the stuff and creating proxies in a board game sense is perfectly fine. Okay? Um, I don't advocate piracy as it were. However, my stance is this: if something is impossible to get your hands on through the standard means, like if the company doesn't sell it anymore and you can't afford the scalper prices on eBay, then make it. Make it yourself. Yeah, that's a big thing, you know, because a lot of the stuff seems interesting, and most games are invented by people testing them in their homes. I mean, that's just straight up. So that's what I have to say on that one. All right. So, since it's the first show of the month, we're going to keep this one relatively short. We've been here for about an hour, and I have to go to the grocery store because my hypoglycemia has been kicking really hard. But I want to give a special thanks to Neon for showing up, Sofa King Super, and Daryl. Hey man, it's good to see you again. Like seriously, thank you for holding it down over there on on YouTube. And thank you so much, guys, for the subscriptions and the follows and all that stuff. Okay. Now, if for some reason, I don't know why, but if for some reason y'all want to get a hold of me or anything like that, it's really simple. All you got to do is follow the link to the Discord that Neon just put up. And of course, Email me at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK@gmail.com. You can also reach out to me on Twitter at backinthedeck, Instagram at backinthedeck, TikTok at bidp, and of course, if you are on that wretched hive of scum and villainy known as Facebook, reach out to Deckers on the Book. Yeah, seriously, guys, this has been some really fun stuff. I got to get back to doing a good amount of creation and cleaning, and I got to go shop for groceries. This has been a whole bunch, but thank you guys for being here. I'm Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, saying, if anybody tells you that you can't like the stuff you like or play the games you want to play because of your circumstances of birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, disabilities, neurodivergencies, or your budget, because we all know that the trailer park is always walking distance from the hood, you can tell those people to take those cards and put them back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, saying thank you guys for being here, and we will see you Friday on the dark side of the room.